Hello everyone, this hour on Verbling, the next in my Getting Results in Business series. We're completing Unit 20, Being Innovative. We're going to be working on a case study today. So the class was at a different time last week, so what I wanted to do today was to give the regular students a chance to complete the unit as well, because a lot of you were not available at the new time. So we're going to be doing the case study, and our main goal is to have you do a formal presentation using all of the new expressions and keywords we learned in the unit. So we'll be looking at that in just a minute. First, a little bit about me. I'm John Eric, your Verbling teacher for this hour. I'm an American teacher from New York, hanging out in Lisbon, Portugal to bring you this class. By the way, here are 3 quick rules to help you participate. Don't forget to turn off, tune in, and open up, which means turn off your microphone when you're not speaking so we can keep the classroom quiet. Tune in to the new words you're learning when you are speaking so that I can correct you and give you feedback. And finally, open up to your classmates. Relax and have fun. We're all here to learn, and this is a safe and respectful place to practice your English. So that is a little bit about me. I'm going to put our presentation on the screen. If you give me just a minute. One moment, and I'll get that on screen for you. Hold on a second. There we go. This is, and I'll see if I can also give you the link in the chat window to this. One moment. Here we go. Okay, so if you want to open this or download it to your computer, presentation 4. You'll see that in just a second. You'll see that in the Verbling chat. There you go, right now. Now you can see it. And let's say a quick hello to Julia. Hello, Julia.
Hello, John. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Julia. And where are you from?
I'm from Russia. I live on the border with Kazakhstan.
Okay, very good. Nice to have you. Let me see if I can. So, are you? If you can either follow along on the screen, or you can download the presentation to your computer. It's the one that we're going to be using today. Give me just a second to get my material set up here. 1 second, please. And there we go. So, in the previous classes, we've been working on business presentations. That's basically what we did. What I'm going to try to give everyone a chance to do today is to do a presentation of your own, but we're going to look at a case study to make life a little easier. It'll give us something to think about, a way to evaluate a business problem, and we'll have an example of a problem that we have to solve in the case study. So we'll be using our presentation skills to either solve that problem or one that we have from our own jobs. Okay, that's the plan. Sound good? Yeah?
Yeah, completely good.
Very good. I have no idea where everyone is. We have a lot of reservations, but no one's in class, so we're going to get started with or without them. Okay, so on your screen, you should see how to talk about innovation, part 4. This is a case study. And we're going to start with the expert view. We start with an opinion that we discuss that gives us a little bit of background about the case study that we're going to try to solve. So this is from Dr. Stephanie Hussells, lecturer in entrepreneurship at the Cranfield School of Management in the UK. All right, let's read through the expert view, what she says, and that will give us a little bit of background before we read the case study. Would you like to go ahead and read for us?
Okay, no problem. The expert view. 2 essential factors. The success of new venture are unique business opportunity combined with an excellent understanding of the market and resource requirements. To convince an investor, the entrepreneur needs to make a business pitch that is well presented and easily understood, and which covers the business idea, the market, resource requirement, and future growth potential. As an investor, you need to pick an idea which offers a good return on investment and has a management team with good leadership skills and market understanding. Be aware the greater the risk, the greater the need to gain a higher rate of return.
Okay, very good. I want you just to repeat two words. The first word is venture.
Uh, Venture.
Good, because I'm hearing venture instead of venture with a
Venture.
V. That's
Oh,
it.
yeah,
Uh,
I read it with W instead of V.
right. Okay, but it sounds good now. And as an investor,
As an investor,
that's it.
investor.
Good. So it's those V's that were getting lost before.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
okay,
Thank you for correction.
thank you. So, um, do you think you could sum that up in a sentence or two? What's Stephanie Husserl's trying to say to us?
Um,
What do you get out of this little
yes,
excerpt?
to get an attention of investor,
Mm-hmm.
you need to present your idea clearly, uh,
Okay.
and you have to uh, have a good team, and you need understand that if your project
Mm-hmm.
has bears a lot of risk, you have to propose a higher rate of return.
Okay, I agree with all of that. I agree. But I think the main idea for Dr. Stephanie Husserl's is related to the word pitch, business pitch. So I agree with all of what you're saying, but it's in the context of pitching an idea. So do you know what
Oh,
that means to pitch an idea? To
uh,
pitch.
big idea to pick up a
Pitch.
pitch. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know this word, but I can translate it.
To pitch is to sell. It's a sales pitch means a short text or a short explanation that attracts an investor, that sells an idea or product.
Oh, like advertisement.
Yeah, except that you're doing it face to face,
Oh, I see.
right? Um, by the way, a quick hello to Yuki, who's just joining us. Hello, Yuki.
Hello, how's everything?
It's okay. Back to my normal time. Last week I couldn't get any time slots, but now I'm back. Next week I will be teaching a course abroad, so I won't be here, just so you know. I have to leave on Thursday. So just today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. Next week I won't be here, and the week after that should be back to normal. Just so you
Oh,
know. Just so you know.
I'll miss you.
And if all goes well, I will be living in a new country starting next week. We'll have to wait and see.
Where are you going to be?
I'm going to teach a course in Italy, in
Italy?
Venice, and if it goes well, I will just be staying there. If it
It's
doesn't
a
go
kind
so
of
well, we'll see.
teaching tour. Yeah?
No, I'm just teaching a course, but I have some interviews there. So
Uh,
if one of the jobs looks like it's going to work out, I'll just stay in Italy. We'll see. We'll see. We'll find out. I looked at Japan, but too complicated. I looked at Saudi Arabia, way too complicated. It's quite difficult actually to get jobs there. So I won't be learning Japanese or Arabic anytime soon,
oh.
unfortunately.
I hope you will come to Japan in the
Huh.
future.
I'd like to. Well, anyway, we'll see how it goes next week. So, so Julia was just giving us a little summary about the sales pitch, and I think Julia, your basic idea was that the sales pitch needs to be number one, easily understood, And number two, about convincing the investor, it's got to be something. What's the main quality to convince the investor in your sales pitch? What should your idea have that convinces people? According to, sorry, go ahead.
I think main idea of salesperson is promotion.
Not a salesperson though, not a salesperson, but the sales pitch by anyone. So you and I could do a sales pitch. Anyone can do a sales pitch. If we want to start a business or launch a product or get money, so anyone can do a sales pitch. Don't have to be a salesperson.
So main purpose of sales pitch is, I think, promotion and increasing of sales by means of maybe demonstration.
True, yeah, but here
advertisement.
But here we're not talking about increasing sales. We're talking about pitching an idea, just pitching to convince an investor, right? So I think the two key ideas here are it's got to be A, easy to understand, and B, a clear way to get a return. When I say return, I mean get your money back. If you're an investor, you want to make a profit, but you also don't want to lose your investment. So the most important thing is that you've got nothing to lose as an investor. So I think that's what Stephanie Hersels is trying to say. Do you agree, Julia? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So the plan here is, last week I was at a different time and not all of you could be in the class. So I want to look at this example. So if you may have seen the class last week, we looked at this before, but we're going to look at it today, and then we're going to use this as kind of a model to do a sales pitch of our own. Okay? I'll give you time between today and tomorrow to plan your pitch. Today we'll look at the structure of it. Okay? But let's look at an example. This is concrete canvas, the building in the bag. Yuki, do you think you could, let's read this. Could you take our first part there on the left?
Okay. Sorry. Concrete canvas, a building in the back. Will Crawford and Peter Brewing was joint directors of Concrete Canvas and have developed an innovative product, an inflatable concrete shelter. They came up with the idea in response to competition to find new uses. Find new uses for cement. They visited refugee. Sorry, I'll increase the character. Sorry. Okay. They visited a refugee camp in Africa to do further research. They believe their product could get around the problem of supplying cheap, easy to use shelters in disaster situations such as earthquakes and tsunamis.
Okay, very good. And Juliet, let's take the second one.
The shelter is basically a sealed plastic sack that measures under 2 meters square. Inside is a fabric that has been soaked in cement, and this is attached to the outside of inflatable plastic liner.
Liner just means any material that is between two things. That lines means to touch something, to cover it, to line it.
Okay, thank you. To inflate the shelter, the sack is filled with water. The fabric is unfolded and a chemical pack releases gas into the plastic liner. 12 hours later, the thin concrete fabric has set in the shape of inflated liner, creating a rigid but lightweight shelter. No training is needed, and the weight and size are similar to those of tents used by aid organizations and the military.
Okay, that's it. So hopefully this makes sense. We'll talk about it in just a moment. And Yuki, could you finish it up for us?
Okay. Uh, Crawford and Brewing aim to test their idea with an aid organization such as Medicines Sans Frontiers or CURE. If the testing goes well, they hope to raise the necessary funding to take the project forward. Initially, they need an investment of $300,000 to build field test prototypes.
Okay, very good. So let me first ask you, what do you think about this? I don't want to say product because it's a little bit different than a product, but what do you think about their solution to the problem they're facing? The problem is the niche they're filling in the market, if you can call this a market, is when there's a disaster, people need temporary asylum. They need a temporary housing. What do you think about this solution to temporary housing? Do you think it's going to work? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's something that they're going to be able to sell? What do you think about the solution they came up with?
Well, I think it's a good idea. In the time of disasters, many people might need to have a shelter,
right,
to evacuate for a time being. In such a situation, maybe such a product like
this sort of product.
This sort of product, it's a shield plastic pack. Yeah.
Not plastic though; it's concrete. It's really concrete.
Sorry, concrete shelter is available, but the successness of this product is depend on the prices. It should be available. It should be.
What's wrong with available?
It should be cheap, cheap for usual people.
Cheap enough.
Cheap enough.
There you go. Okay, so it's got to be cheap enough that people could actually afford it. That's true. Although Yuki raises a good question, right? Who is this being sold to? So it's certainly not going to be sold to the victims. They don't have money. They just lost everything that they owned. So, Yulia, who do you think the best customers would be? Now we already know who they're targeting initially, right? Have you heard of Médecins Sans Frontières? Have you heard of that? In English, we call that Doctors Without Borders. Have you heard of that organization?
I've heard about Doctors Without Borders, and I think maybe they could target organizations, some church organizations like Red Square. I mean, I'm not sure how.
Red Cross. Red Cross?
Yeah, Red Cross.
Red Cross.
Yeah, Red Cross.
Not Red Square. That's in Moscow.
Yeah, I mean Red Cross, and maybe some ministers of governments. Ministry, some government ministry, which buying some stuff in case of earthquakes and tsunamis. Maybe.
Absolutely. So in the chat window, I wrote ministries and I wrote NGOs. NGOs are
Non-commercial government organization or not
yeah,
government
non-governmental
organization?
organizations. That's right. Non-governmental. Okay,
Non-governmental. Oh, okay, yeah.
like you said, like the Red Cross. Maybe they can also go after a UN organization as well. UN organization, like UNESCO is an UN organization. Um, there's different
Like
programs in the UN that can help with disaster relief as well.
United Nations, no?
Yeah, United Nations, yes. So maybe that's another possible purchaser for this, right? Because you've got the UN peacekeepers. Okay, that's basically like a military presence, but at the same time, they're supposed to be sent in any kind of a disaster. So you've got that. You've got different branches of the UN that might be able to help as well. And I agree. And the Red Cross is a good idea. So maybe their customers are really going to be non-profit, non-governmental organizations that help with disaster relief. That's the key word. Disaster relief. Okay? So those are some ideas about who they're going to sell it to, and you can see some figures. The useful life of a tent in some conditions, less than 3 weeks. The useful life of a concrete canvas shelter, 10 years. That's a pretty big difference. The time needed to put up a shelter, 40 minutes. The time until the shelter is ready to use, 12 hours. So basically, within 12 hours, you could almost create a city that's going to last for 10 years if you needed to. So it seems like an interesting idea. Okay, maybe there are some drawbacks, but for the moment, I would say it seems interesting, worth looking into. Now, here's the key question for our purposes. We have to pitch this idea to get money. And when we get money, our investors are going to get paid back when we sell it to the Red Cross, the United Nations, a government ministry, a disaster relief fund, or any other organization. What advice, number one, what advice would you give Will Crawford and Peter Brewing about obtaining the investment they need to get started? What do they need to keep in mind? So let's get a few ideas about what they need to keep in mind just to get the investment to make the prototypes and that kind of thing. Okay? What should they do to get the investment? What can an entrepreneur do to get an investment?
Maybe they should ask for money.
So
In those
ask for money, like to their mothers?
No,
No, not
I
ask for
mean
money.
like ask government and those organizations we mentioned.
Let's
Ask,
not call that ask. Let's call that apply
apply
for funding.
Apply for funds. Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Apply for funding. Okay. Okay. They could apply for funding from the government as an investor.
They can apply for funding those organizations or maybe some oh I don't know how to describe it. In Russia we call them incubators. I'm not sure how you it's like some organizations that help startups.
We call that venture
Maybe
capital.
venture, yeah, venture capital.
Yep. Venture capital. We can say venture capital. We can say startup funds or startup funders. We can also say, sometimes you'll hear the word in Europe, they often use the word business angels.
Oh yeah, business angels. Oh, I've heard about this. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
exactly
that's a
what I meant.
So those are some words that all mean investors. These are investors who they need to get recouped. Recoup means that you recuperate your money, you get it back, and they usually want a profit. So they're going to get it back with a percentage, and they usually want it back within a certain time period. But they're there to help you develop your business. Okay, so Julia, you've got two ideas. One, ask for funding. Two, get an investor from venture capital investors or startup funds. Okay? What about borrowing money? What do you
I
think
think
about borrowing?
it borrowing money. I think
Yeah.
I think it is very important for startup like this company with Cloudford and Peter Brewing to collect the money to start up their business. So they need to borrow money. I think most commonly used method to collect the money is IPO, initial
Public offering.
public offering.
But that,
So
that means they have to incorporate. That means they have to really make a business.
yes,
Maybe they don't want to go public though, because that means that they lose control of their company, possibly, right? Because the board of directors has to vote, they have to get approval. So that means they lose control, right? I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying it's there. Maybe that's not the first step if to do an IPO, because it means
I see. I see.
they're still in a very risky stage, right?
Risky stage, but
Yeah.
but for some extent, venture company can could offer to could offer to could offer how to say wide range of people to buy stock in stock market. So they can sell their stocks to the public to earn necessary money to start up. So
Well, I
IPO
agree.
is one of methods to sell
It could, but why
stocks.
do it on the stock market? Why not just do it privately? I mean, why not just get a bunch of investors? I remember a friend of mine uh, got an investor for a company by taking the elevator in New York, and he just happened to know the guy on the he knew about the guy on the elevator. He started talking to him. By the time they got to the bottom floor, he had $2 million for his company. He just and the whole point was that that was one investor, and by getting different investors, no one investor could dictate the terms of the company, right? So it was a strategy to keep control over the company. In this case, it was a pharmaceutical company that they were starting, and
Yes.
they were doing novel drug experiments with cancer treatments or something like that. So he had a bunch of investors. Some of them were pharmaceutical companies. They didn't give a lot of money. They gave seed money. So like $1 million is a little bit of money for a big company like that. And then he got some private investors to jump on the bandwagon. And that way, no one company could say, do this, don't do that. They could keep control. Just an interesting idea, because the stock market, once you're out there, geez, you better know what you're doing, or you're going to go to jail. Well, then again, maybe not. In America, no one goes to jail, so maybe it's a good idea. Maybe it prevents you. I don't know. Another question: what information let's imagine we're going to go with venture capital, okay? An investment bank, a private investor, a startup company. What information would potential investors need before deciding to put their money into this particular product? Okay, what do they need to know? How do you need to inform them about why it's worthwhile to invest? So let's imagine we're we're Concrete Canvas. What do we need to get across to the investor? Julia, why don't you start us off? What are some things we need to get across to the investor for this product particularly?
I think you need to tell investors about your potential balance sheet. So, I mean, how much money you plan on getting each year,
So
and
potential for return on the investment, right? And potential turnover. Potential.
I mean that. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to go. I'll join you a minute later.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Yo, yo.
So, two
I
ideas.
I think first of all, you have to appeal the charm.
Sorry, I'm sorry for interrupting. I'm here with you again.
Oh, okay. So, well, Yuki was going to just comment on your ideas. So you give us two
Oh,
ideas. You said return on the investment. Well, I said return on the investment, and you said potential turnover. Turnover means the amount of money you're going to make, not necessarily profit. So those are two good keywords. Return on investment, which is called ROI or ROI. Sometimes it's written like this, ROI, return on investment. Or turnover, that just means the total amount of revenue you're going to make, the total amount of money you're going to make. Revenue is the same as basically turnover, potential turnover or revenue. Okay, Yuki, what would you add to that?
I would like to add that the idea or I think most important thing is to appeal the charm of their product to investors. So they have to convince investors of the potential of products it was to invest. So
the value it's going to bring to the customer.
So for that purpose, maybe taking place presentation is an effective way to attract investors to venture capital.
Okay, so I would call that showing the value of the product. Showing the value. So that means that demonstrating it, right? Maybe giving some before and after pictures of how your life will change, how it's going to improve things. I've got one more question about this, which is what about the costs involved? What about the possible obstacles? Like, for example, what are some costs that the investors might need to be aware of? They're going to put their money in, they want to get their money back, but they need to know about the process it'll take to produce concrete canvas, right? So production costs, I'll say.
So I think most of big obstacles is, of course, company have to owe the debts, sometimes big debts. It would be the big burden for beginning company. So it is very important to know the scale of their business, recognize the possibility of their company's possibility. So other ways, company might bankrupt.
Might go bankrupt.
Might go bankrupt.
Okay, So, Yuki and Julia, let me ask you both. What's the best way to show the scale, the potential for the business, the scale of the business? Okay, of course you're going to do a business pitch. Of course, you're going to tell them the idea. But what do you think investors are looking for to show that you know what you're doing and you're thinking ahead? What's the one tool you can give them? If you're really a business person, you should know how to do this one thing.
Prototype.
Okay, I agree. That's a great idea, prototypes. And before the prototype, before you even do the prototype, what do you need? Before you even do it. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about in terms of planning. What do you need before you make a prototype?
Some schedule. No, some.
Okay, another way to talk about schedule, another word for schedule would be
plan.
Business plan, right? That's it. So you have to have a developed business plan, and that has your schedule in it. It's got your budget and your schedule together. And it's got milestones, when you're going to achieve things and by what point. Okay? And we've already talked about point 3. Question 3 was, do you think this is a good project? I think we all agree that it sounds like an interesting project, so we probably would invest. Probably. I mean, I don't see any major drawbacks. But, you know, if you have a different opinion, just let me know.
So I think a beginning company, a venture capital company, need to show investors, public, their scheme clearly and very, how to say, clearly. Yes.
Yeah.
It's very important to make a business plan and show the scheme.
What do you mean by scheme?
I mean, the scheme is a kind of a business plan. It how to say it? It's a kind of a representation of the business organization, and it's a statement of their future plan.
Okay. So, do you mean by scheme? Do you mean the plan itself, or do you mean a summary of the plan that's easy to pitch to people?
Yes, it's a necessary item to pitch the people. It's a kind of preliminary plan.
Okay. Preliminary. Okay.
Preliminary plan. How to say? It's a so.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's a good idea. So the preliminary plan is there to track the investors, and when the investors are on board, the plan can develop and change into, you might want to co-author the business plan with the investors. They probably know more than you do, right? They probably know more than you do about setting up a company. So I agree. It's a good idea. Make your plan to show that you're thinking about it, but be open to changing it and developing it into a final plan once you've got people on board. Sounds good. Well, in this activity, you will be both an entrepreneur and an investor. You'll take turns. Your aim is to be either the winning entrepreneur or the winning investor, because we're going to pitch many ideas. The winner is the person or team with the most money at the end. So you're going to be given a budget that you can spend, and you've got to listen to people's pitches. Okay? So it says here, present new ideas. As an entrepreneur, you present new ideas to get them to invest as much money as possible. You have 3 minutes to pitch. As an investor, you have to spend your. Oops. Hold on a second. You have to. I've got a phone call, but I can't answer it. You've got to spend your budget. Hopefully they'll leave a message. You have to spend your budget of $500,000 or $500,000, but you can spend that on each project that you hear that you like, or you could choose one or another project to invest it all in. It's really up to you. I think we're going to be doing the pitches more tomorrow than today. Today we're going to look at more just how to structure your pitch, what are the best expressions to use, and then we'll try out a pitch for Concrete Canvas. And then tomorrow you'll have time to do a pitch of your own. So we can do it. We'll probably have more people tomorrow. Okay, so that's the plan. Here is our structure. In part 2 it says, introduce yourself and preview the presentation. Introduce your business idea, what it is and how it works. Explain its benefits. Compare the future benefits for the users with the present or past. And explain what stage of development it's at and why you need the investment, how much profit you expect to make over the next 3 years, and then give your presentation. So we're going to use that as our structure for today. What I'd like to do is to talk about Concrete Canvas. I'd like to do one quick business pitch with Concrete Canvas as our example. Okay, and what I'm going to do is open our notes. I'll give you the link in just a second in the chat window. And what we can do is put it in our notes so it'll give you a model to use on your own. So there's the link to the notes. Okay, if you want to open that to follow along, click on that link. And it's Google Drive, so it's going to be a little bit slow, but it will open in a minute. Give me a second here. And as soon as it's open, give me just a second. And see. Actually, I'll share my screen with you too, so you can see where we are. And I'll turn it off just for a minute so you see exactly where we are. A little bit easier. Look at results in business. Open it up. As you can see, it's still loading. For me, it's still loading. It's a little bit. Okay, I'm going to scroll down to table of contents. And unit 20, fine. Oops, this is a little bit out of date. One second. I think this is on the next page. Yeah, this is on page 5. Okay, so if you go to page 5, you'll see. I'm going to take the notes there. Whoops. All right, there we go. All right, so don't worry about that summary vocabulary. I'll add that a little bit later. Let's do this. Let's go here and we'll call this business pitch. Okay, and I'm going to literally copy down that structure, and then we're just going to kind of fill in the blanks in the beginning. Part 1, let's change this to numbers. So part 1 says, introduce yourself. So, introduce yourself, and preview. Oops. Preview product. That's number 1. Number 2, intro your idea. What it is and how it works. Number 3, explain benefits. We'll put benefits. Number 4, compare / contrast. This is about present or past to, whoops, future. And after that, stage. The present stage. What stage you're at the present. Okay, so that's going to be our structure. Now what I want us to do as a group is use our key expressions to talk about Concrete Canvas. Okay? If you want to cheat, you can always go to slide number 11, which has some of the key expressions from the unit. Okay, so I'll put that on screen as well. You should be able to see it now. That's slide number 11. Okay? So let's try this as a group. Julia, let's say that you're going to be doing the presentation and that Yuki is your business partner and he's going to be setting it up with you. How would you introduce yourself using any of those key expressions? How would you introduce yourself and preview the products? I'd like to hear the actual key expressions you would use.
Okay, one more detail. I will be introducing Concrete Canvas, right? Or
That's right.
All right. Okay. Hello, dear colleagues. My name is Julia, and today I'm gonna present to your attention a product called.
Well, you don't have to go into detail yet. I just want to hear the key expressions. So I heard my name is, okay. You could also just say I'm, because it's shorter. By the way, let me get rid of the bold here. It doesn't need to be in bold. Okay, and you can see where I'm writing. Hopefully you can see where I'm writing on page 5 of the notes.
For example, as an introduction, what I'd like to do in this presentation is first I'll give you a brief overview of the product. Then I'll talk about. After that, I'd like to show you.
Okay, very good. So previewing the product, we've got Yuki said first what I'd like to do in this presentation is, and then we've got you said first, and last, and that's good enough. That's a good way. That's a good way to get started. Okay? Okay, what about introducing the idea itself? Now you can see I've got a few expressions for you there in introducing a product or service. You can use any of those. What would you say about Concrete Canvas to introduce the idea?
It's a pretty simple concept. It's never been used. It's a pretty simple
concept, okay. Well, you want to start with something like, we call it, right? We want to start with something like that. So
first,
okay, how about this one? Begin with. So there you give your first idea. Call our product Concrete Canvas. Okay. Then you can go into details about whether it's simple, whether it's complex, what you do with it. You'll notice some other key expressions. It's the result of, it's already being used. You said it's a pretty simple concept. Okay, let's go with that. Yeah, absolutely. Julia, you said it's a pretty simple concept, right? So what would you say to continue? It's a pretty simple concept. I'll put that down.
But it's never been used before.
Okay. Okay. So we'll say it's the first of its kind. First of its kind. That means it's never been used before. And earlier, Yuki, you said basically, what's the basic thing you want to say about it?
Basically, our product is such a
okay, so here's
for something, yeah.
Sure. So we could say basically it consists of that. If you want to talk about how it's made or manufactured, right? We call our product X. Basically, it consists of blah, blah, It's a pretty simple concept. It's a pretty simple concept. How it works is, and you've got it one of a kind, can go up here. For introducing the idea, I think we're covered. All of those expressions sound good, and you could use them pretty much in the order that we see them. Okay, how can we talk about the benefits? What are the benefits, and how can we discuss them? Let's think of maybe 2 or 3 benefits that we might want to mention.
Most big advantage is that
Good. Biggest advantage
biggest.
is? What is the biggest advantage for Concrete Canvas? What do you think?
For example, their consistency.
Consistency? What do you mean?
Their
what do you mean by consistency? Consistency meaning that it's the same every time?
Yes, not consistency. Maybe durability.
Durability. Ah, okay. That's a good, I agree with you. So durability. Maybe we want to use a different word, but durability makes sense.
Firmness.
What happened to Julia? Julia, come back. We're not done.
Yes.
I was going to say something else. Durability. Durability is fine. What I wanted to say is that to give the idea that it's not really a temporary. It's what am I looking for? I got to find the right word here. Durability is the right idea, but I think there's a better way to say it, because a tent can be durable, right? But this is more than durable. It's almost permanent. So it's really kind of unique. It's not just that it's tough or resistant. It's that it's really permanent. I mean, that's kind of the idea here. It's concrete. Okay, but we'll go with durability for now.
Permanence.
So we have, yeah, I don't know. I can't think of exactly the right way to say it. But anyway, that's the right idea. That is the biggest advantage. A tent is going to be far less durable than a concrete canvas. Okay, now we can compare and contrast the present to the future. What's the difference between now or in the past? What's the difference if we were using concrete canvas? So now, what happens as opposed to the future? Can you think of an example?
Before this kind of shelters were very heavy, but now you can get a quite lightweight shelter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and no training is needed.
No training. That's right. Okay.
And size is quite small. It's similar to those of tents used by
portable?
aid organizations. So it is
right.
quite
So it's small,
compact,
portable, compact. Okay.
easy to handle.
Okay, those are 3 good details, right? They're good. The shelters were heavy, so this is not as heavy. No training needed, and that it's compact. Okay. And by the way, last point is, what stage are we at? So I'm going to write prototype, because I'm sure about that. We're still at the prototype stage. We can add more information if we like, but that's basically where we're at. The prototype is what we're trying to get our money to do the prototype. Mm-hmm. All right. So the only thing we have to be clear about is just in compare and contrasting, we've got 3 points to make, but we have to use the right keywords. We have to use the right keywords. So I'm going to make a little note here. The information we want to say is heavy, no training needed, and compact. But our keywords or our key expressions are, you could say, whereas, for example, before, blah, 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 now we can. So that's one expression we can use. And the other ones are there on the screen with the current X, Y, and Z. You can or you cannot. You can or can't. But, or I can say any kind of but word. Here they say however on the screen. However, with our product, you would be able to. So that's about the future. That's why I'm putting would be able to, because it's a future use of the modal verbs. Instead of can, we have to say be able to. Okay, so we've got that.
Okay.
We've got at the moment, blah, blah, blah.
Now.
Whereas in the future. Okay, we've got our structure there, and it looks pretty good. We've got 5 parts to our presentation. Now all we have to do is give the presentation. So, let me see if I can just make sure we're all looking at the same thing. There it is on the screen. All 5 parts for you where it says business pitch. Let me get it down there. Let me make this just a little bit smaller. Oops, that's bigger. Hold on. 90%. Okay, so you've got it there on your screen. And in fact, maybe it'd be a little easy. Oh, I'll just share my screen. So Yuki, if you were going to give this presentation, going right down the list, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, do you think you could use that structure to talk about Concrete Canvas?
Okay. Good morning. My name is Yuki. What I'd like to do in this presentation is introducing our new products and introduce our products and.
What else will you do besides introduce it? Talk about what? First I'll introduce the product. Then I'll talk about.
Then we'll talk about the advantage of advantage and the perspective of our products.
Okay, that's fine. So we'll talk about the advantages and prospects. I guess if you want to use it as a noun. We'll talk about the advantages and prospects for our product. Then
I'll talk about the possible.
Well, why don't you go into compare and contrast? Right, that's
okay.
what you're going to do next. So then I'll
compare. No.
Sure, why not? Go ahead, yeah.
There I'll compare the. There I'll emphasize the for advanced feature of our products in comparison with the conventional products, conventional ones.
Perfect. That's perfect. I'll emphasize. Is that what you mean? Emphasize.
Emphasize.
That's it. Very good. Okay, and last?
What?
The last is about talking about the present stage of development. In other words, showing what progress we made.
And the last, I'll I'll show you the current stage, current stage of our of of how
You got many choices here. You could say the current
Yes,
stage of
development.
development. Yeah,
Yes,
good.
development. Then I'll talk about the current stage of our current stage of the development and development of our products. How the testing
Is going.
how the testing is going. What kind of hope is raising.
Okay. So let me repeat what you said from the beginning, because you've done point number 1, which is introducing yourself and previewing the product. And previewing the product is basically going through this outline. Basically, that's it. So you said, hello, my name is Yuki, and what I'd like to do in this presentation is, first, to begin with, I'd like to go over the idea of our product in general to give you a sense of what it is and how it works. Then I'll talk about the advantages and prospects for this product in the market. After that, I'd like to tell you, I forgot what you said there. It was good. I'd like to emphasize what? I forgot.
Emphasize the emphasize the advantage advantage and the prospect of our products. No.
That was the part before.
No. Special feature. No, I don't know.
So it was about talking about ability. So I would like to emphasize what you'll be able to do.
Emphasize the advantage. No, emphasize the.
Well, it's okay. It's okay. Basically, I'd like to emphasize what you'll be able to do. What this product will enable you to do in the future,
in
as
comparison with conventional
exactly
ones.
In comparison with conventional ones. Okay, and finally, or last, I'll bring you up to date on our current stage of development and where we'd like to go in the near future with your help and investment. And that's a bit about our business. That's a bit about our presentation today. So if there's no questions, I'll get started. So there you go. That's it. Okay, we're going to stop here. I want to give you a chance to do a business pitch of your own in tomorrow's class. It could be Concrete Canvas or it could be your own idea. It doesn't matter. You can use this structure. It'd be very good. And what I'll do is just write a summary of the introduction that you just did. I'll write it out so you have a model. And then we can actually do the pitch in class. And hopefully, tomorrow is Tuesday. There tends to be more people. So hopefully we'll get a few people.
Tomorrow you will be there, still there.
Yeah, tomorrow and Wednesday, yeah.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll have some more people and we can get a few pitches. Hopefully.
Yes.
I sure hope. You know, when I was teaching in the afternoon, there was a lot of people. It seems like the mornings are really, really quiet. So
I think yes. Monday's morning is heavy.
Monday morning especially. Maybe the problem is that China doesn't have Google access. That's why, because otherwise it would be all Chinese people, I think.
Really?
Yeah, because
I heard the government urged all public people to use not to use Google.
It's banned. They can't use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's banned. They can't use it without a VPN, so they have no way to log on. I
official.
think. What's that?
All officials in China have to use their own search system, their own.
Which is an exact copy of Google anyway. They just
Yes.
I had a student who was working on the Chinese version of Google, their own version. I forgot what it's called. And he said, we just look at the search results, we copy what they do, we create an algorithm, and then we just put it out on the market. He said, that's all we do. We just study how Google works, copy it, and then we make our own. So
And
anyway,
I'm very worried about the situation in Russia. Maybe same situation will be
really?
take place because recently President Vladimir Putin uh, announced that people in Russia, especially officials, have to use their own system, searching system. We have to create own Russian or own searching system, not to depend on Google, because Google is because American how to say American organization American it is America is spying
Oh, right.
using Google. So yes, so Putin criticized the Google, urged officials not to use Google. So
Right, because Putin doesn't spy on anyone, right?
yes,
So yeah, he's
I'm
clean.
very.
Well, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it
if
goes.
if
Hopefully.
I if I will disappear from classes, maybe dictatorship will be strengthened.
Or we can just use something other than the Hangout. We can always use something different. All right, I've got to run. I'll be back a little later today for In the News. We've got a little news class we'll do, which is about vocabulary and discussion about a news article. So that'll be in about 2 hours. Okay? Work on your presentation for tomorrow. Bye for now. See you soon.
Thank you very much. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.